Yeah. All right, I am calling, village board meeting of November 22nd, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Thuzius.
Here.
Trustee Brunner.
Here.
Trustee Paul Mikowski.
Here.
Trustee Hartman.
Here.
Trustee Calvater. Here. Trustee Brochus.
Here.
President Langfeld.
Here. Stand for pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village. Reserve the time limit of 3 minutes. While the village board encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Do we have anybody?
We did not have any pre-registrations for public comment. We don't have any hands up. So.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, we're at the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Well, let me just read this. Upon request, any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration on the general business. Anybody want to remove anything?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented. I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say. We'll move. Report village officers. I have nothing for tonight about our vice president.
Chamber is getting together with others on December 4th. They're doing a tree lighting, the big tree up on Hickory Hill. They're going to do coffee and hot chocolate and stuff. They're going to do it next to where the ice cream place is going to be, the Scoop. In that parking, in that lot right there is where they're going to do, they're hoping to light a tree there also. And just do maybe a little band or something like that. I think it starts at 4. Santa comes that same day to the fire station in the morning, and I think that's from 10 till noon. And let's see what else. And we have a few new businesses coming to town that we know already. Millie's is on Main Street. And what else is it? No, that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Any other trustee? All right. Village administrator.
Just a few quick ones here. The gateway to the driftless area met last week. They did assist the Lions Club by submitting the $100,000 grant application to the Department of Administration for the Capital Tourism Grant to assist with the pavilion. So they are hopeful to hear back from that in December. We also submitted a separate grant application for the same program to match $270,000, the local share of $270,000 towards the KP Trail section, which is on the agenda later this evening for that park ride grant.
Okay.
I can stop there.
No, yeah, sometimes, I'm sorry.
Just quickly that Carpsey Black Earth Creek Watershed Green Infrastructure Group also met last week. They held a local officials meeting. I think about 12 people showed up for that webinar type meeting. They will incorporate comments into the plan, which they plan to have a draft to the village by February of 22. And then from there, that plan will go to WEM and FEMA for final approval, or U.S. Army Corps for final approval. And so that plan will have projects recommended for flood mitigation.
Okay. Other reports, Bobby?
The spring election will take place on Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. On the ballot for local office are 3 seats for village trustee. The incumbents are William Brochus, Kevin Thuzius, and Michael Pomykowski. The term for village trustee begins on April 19th, 2022, and lasts for 2 years. Any resident interested in running for one of these 3 seats will need to pick up nomination papers at the village office. These will be available beginning the week of November 29th. The first day to circulate nomination papers is December 1st, and the final day for filing nomination papers is 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022. For more information about this process, please visit elections.wi.gov. Under the candidates menu, choose Getting on the Ballot. I will also put information and links on the village website. Any incumbent not seeking re-election will need to file a notice of non-candidacy. The deadline for this is 5 p.m. on the second Friday preceding the deadline for filing nomination papers, which would be December 24th. The village hall is scheduled to be closed on December 23rd and 24th. So please turn that in prior to that, or let me know if you're going to be late, and then I'm happy to come in on those days off and sit here and wait for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to general business. First is a public hearing on the proposed 2022 budget. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I move to go into public hearing for the 2022 budget.
Second. All right, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Thuzius.
Yes.
Trustee Brunner.
Yes.
Trustee Pomykowski.
Yes.
Trustee Hartman.
Yes.
Trustee Kettlebaiter.
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. All right, we're in public hearing. Bill, do we have anybody on?
We did not have anyone sign up. We do have people on Zoom here. I can announce that if anyone wants to comment on the public hearing for the 2022 budget, if you could unmute yourself or raise your hand, I can unmute you so that you can make comments. And then I'll just call it 3 times here, going once, going twice, 3rd time. Go ahead, Jim.
All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Public hearing is closed. Item 2, discussion and possible action on the 2022 budget. We will take each of these letters individually. A is the general fund. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
So I just got something I want to pass out as some reference for everybody. This is showing what our current national inflation is for last year, which is the top diagram, and for the last 5 years. So if you've noticed, we've been pretty flat at around 2.5, maybe 3%. With inflation for the last 5 years. This last year, starting in, you could probably say around the February or March, April timeframe, we started seeing a significant increase in inflation within the U.S. And it looks like the way things are forecast, that's going to increase. I just wanted people to have that piece of information as we started talking about the budget. Any questions about that? Okay.
All right. So do I have a motion to accept the general fund budget?
I'll make that motion.
Right. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brunner.
Yes.
Trustee Pomykowski.
Yes.
Trustee Hartman.
Yep.
Trustee Kettlebaiter.
Yes.
Trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Thuzius.
Yes.
President Langfeld.
No. All right. Passes. Number B, capital fund. Do I have a motion?
I will motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the capital fund. Roll, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
trustee Hartman.
Yep.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brochus.
Yep.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, we're on C. Do I have a motion on the library fund?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the library fund? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brochus.
Yep.
Trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, D, we have a motion to accept the debt service fund.
I move to accept the debt service fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. We're on E, tax increment district fund. Do I have a motion to accept it?
Yes, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. F, water utility fund. Do I have a motion?
Yes. Go ahead.
Motion to approve water utility fund.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Go ahead, Bill.
So I just want to make sure that we are looking at, we're going to be getting our revenue is going to be up 4.77%. Is that correct?
We have gotten initial information from the PSC. They haven't calculated the actual rates yet, but yes, they will be going up. So the current budget sits at the current rates. But once the new rates are approved, we'll do a budget amendment to increase revenues.
Okay, so, well, right now, that's what we're expecting. Oh, no, we're not, this is for 2021.
We're expecting a 20 to 30% increase if you.
In water utility?
Yeah,
I thought we were expecting more than that.
40% over 40, we have it at 42%, I think, over 2 years. And
Yeah.
I think the PFC wanted it a lot higher than that. I thought it was
That's
60%.
what I thought.
Yeah, but we'll have to just see what happens. It's all on rate of return,
Okay.
but the rates are going up, definitely. All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, G, sewer utility fund. Do I have a motion?
I move to
I'll make a
approve.
motion to approve.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second, discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. Okay, H is the resolution 2021-18, setting the 2021 payable 2022 tax levy and adopting the 2022 budget. Do I have a motion?
Yes. I will motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion, and a second, any discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, budget is passed. All right, the next item is discussion of committee role and meeting procedure. I put this on because there was, I thought it was pretty clear at the last meeting that we're not all understanding or on the same page of how the committee rules are in the meeting. So I placed this one on. I'm just gonna go over real quickly to try to clarify some of the, so we're all understanding it. So on committee roles, I think if you look at our job here, I'm gonna put it as, we look at the whole pie. Committees look at a slice of the pie. Besides, there's a few committees that have power given to them by state statute that does not have to come back here. Police Commission, Zoning Board of Appeal, and some of the functions at the Plan Commission. Those state statute, they handle it, we don't see it. The rest of the items are basically recommendations from a committee, and we always have a right to talk about and change. And just as an example, in recent history, I'm just going to use Parks and Recreation. For a lot of you remember when we were discussing the bike, off-road bike trail that's off of Bourbon, Parks and Rec voted that down. Came to the board, we voted yes on it. Another example is Raspberry Park. If you remember, they were for putting the golf carts there. When it came to the board, we decided not to. Those are all acceptable. It doesn't mean that someone didn't trust somebody. It's just they were looking at the slice. We were looking at the big, the whole pie. So I think we have to remember that most of the time we go with what our committees do. But again, they're advising us. Even when a committee does a negative on a motion, it still should come to the board because we have final, we don't, state statute does not give powers to those committees to do that kind of stuff. It comes to us. So even if they vote no on something, it still can come to the board for us to have final say on it. So I just want to make everybody kind of understand, so we're all on that same understanding. Go ahead, Bill.
There is one exception to that, and that's for planning, if someone wants to put in ask.
Yes, they're planned, those are done by police commission. We have no say on police commission. Their stuff does not come to you.
Stuff from planning does come to here,
Some do.
except for if someone wants to put in.
Right.
Right.
That's what I said. There's police commission, zoning board of appeal, and certain functions of the plan commission does not come here. State has determined that it's better for that committee just to handle it.
Conditional use permit.
Conditional use for plan. The hiring, firing, and promotion of police are all done by the commission. We don't have a say in it. When people want to do an appeal to the zoning code, we don't get involved in that. That's done by that group. They have statutory powers. So those are the ones we can't, we don't. But the rest of them, yes, Andy, go ahead.
Just a clarifying question, because
Yeah,
I feel like there's just been mixed messages based on decisions and conversations that have happened at the board level that make me slightly confused. So I just know that coming into Parks and Rec, that members of my committee are a little bit upset that the plan has never taken on some of the decisions that they had gone through the committee, and plan has just basically not added it to the agenda. And so it seems to me like you're saying the village board can choose what to add and what not to add to the agenda. And my question is, like, whose choice ultimately is that? I mean, if I want to recommend it to the agenda, you ultimately, as the president, have the ability to decline that. Is that correct?
that would be correct. But if you and another trustee want it, then it automatically goes up.
Okay, so some of my members of my committee have been a little
So
upset.
they're saying that sometimes plan decides something and it doesn't go to board.
They're saying plan is basically pumping the brakes on some decisions that Parks and Rec made prior to my election. And they're really curious about why the advocacy from previous trustees and from Parks and Rec have not ever been adding their agenda items that they have passed through Parks to the Plan Commission so they can come to the board. And so that's why I get.
One of those items was the master planning for their park where 3,000 greenwood or just No,
Evergreen?
Evergreen Parkway. And
Okay,
so that's actually on the plan commission's agenda for January.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Yeah,
It's in the
We're getting
process.
yeah, I don't think things automatically go, usually though, from committees, it comes to board.
Okay,
There's rare cases that you would refer to another committee, but that one makes total sense.
okay. And then however, when something goes to committee, committee votes it down,
Yeah,
and any board member or just you and Bill, or just you?
but
and then-
it's the same thing.
Just-
See, as long as action is taken at the committee level,
Sure,
it should come to the board, if it's one that needs board approval. So
okay,
the bike trail is a perfect example.
okay.
That was voted down by Parks and Rec, but it was put on the agenda.
Okay, just a clarification on that. It's not that it was voted down, it was not voted for recommendation to the village. board.
Okay,
Gotcha.
okay, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the dog park. Dog park, it was recommended from the Park and Rec to come to the village board. And then it came to the village board, but the village board turned it down. But it's always a recommendation coming from one of the other boards.
Sure.
Correct. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this now.
Okay, good. And the thing is always act.
Mhm.
And like I say, we may not be able to get it on the next agenda, but we do put it up. I don't think I've turned anybody down that it's never come up. It's just sometimes we try, again, we were under instructions to try to monitor the length of these meetings. And part of that is controlling the agenda. But I would just ask Bill or I, and like I said, we've been pretty open on putting everything out.
Oh, Doug, you go first. I'll go.
Well, I'll just make a quick comment. I'm in agreement. I appreciate the clarification. I definitely think a simple mission, charter, rules and ground rules can help. And, you know, as committee chair for public safety, I'll take ownership of developing it and or looking at what we have and just making sure it's clear, because we added Candace and Tammy this year. I think it's important if you get a new person to a committee that they get a little intro and orientation and understand what they're doing and what their scope of responsibility is. So, and I'm guilty of some of it as well. And we want to be focused and do our work and understand where it fits.
Go to Bill.
And as part of that, I have created a flow chart of how policy gets started and then can be brought up to the table in the committee, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, at the last Parks and Rec meeting, we definitely sat down and we're sort of working and workshopping, like, what is an official policy for Parks and Rec for improvements on parks? And then additionally, having this conversation and like, what is our official role, and trying to figure out where that lies. I just have experienced in many of these meetings where committees are highly valued for their recommendations, and then all of a sudden they're not. And so I think that's been frustrating to me, is that now the recommendation really matters. In this instance, it doesn't matter anymore. And so just trying to sort of square that circle is hard for me.
But see, the thing is, it's not, see, that's what I'm trying to get. It's not that one is valued more than the other. One fits the big pie better than the other. So not everything that comes there is gonna fit into the big pie, that slice. So sometimes we say no, most of the time we say yes, but sometimes we just, like plan, we modify plan almost all the time. What comes out of plan, when it gets here, it gets modified a lot of times. But that's the process, that's what we want. We want committees to do the legwork and come up with a recommendation, and then we have to look at how that fits with the big picture of the whole village, if that helps.
Yeah, it does, thanks.
All right, and then the next point is the meeting procedure, and I think the one thing we gotta really get clear, because I think some people are still working under the old system. About 18 months ago, we changed chapter 2, which is how we do meetings, and we ended up getting rid of the friendly amendment. Remember that, if you don't, and for people who don't know, it used to be when someone made a motion, there was a second during the discussion, people thought, well, we should change the original motion. Someone would say, would you be willing to do a friendly amendment to change it to this? So the example last meeting was giving them, the motion that was for 12 months. After discussion, most people thought it should only be for 6 months. So under the old system, someone would say, would you do a friendly amendment, change it to 6 months? That no longer is how we do it. And the reason for that is when you do that, then two people really are deciding if the amendment changes. That would be the person who makes the amendment and the person who seconds it, because there's no discussion. Those two decide. So when we went to a system, and that's what this book says we should do, and now what you're doing is make an amendment to the motion. It's the same process. So someone in that case says, I make a motion to amend the motion from 6 months, from 12 months to 6 months. Someone seconds that, now everybody gets to have a discussion on that. And if you vote yes in favor, then the 12 months gets turned to 6 months on the original motion. So then you vote on the original motion with that change to it. Everybody good with that? Or is that's what's set up in the ordinance on how it works. Bill?
Just another point of order for that is that once somebody makes a motion and it gets seconded, whoever made that motion and second no longer owned that motion. It is now in the hands of the village board. So that's why we can't do a friendly amendment, because if I was to make a motion, I no longer own it. It's been seconded, now it's in the hands of the village board and of the body. And now if we want to change it, like Jay said, we need to have an amendment to change that initial motion.
All right, so the second part of procedures that we need to do is we need to get clarification on action that are taken not only here, but also on committee. So taking an action, have a motion, a second, a discussion, and you actually vote. It can be voted in the affirmative or the negative, all right? The other option you have is to refer the motion to another group, to another meeting. Or you can postpone it. You can postpone it to the next year, or to the next budget section, or to wherever you want to postpone it. And then there's the third one, is tabling a motion. And I think that's where we're getting a little confused. If you read this book, the tabling of a motion for Robert's rule is basically if we're in the middle of a discussion where someone's made a motion, a second, we're in the discussion, and then all of a sudden an emergency comes up that we have to take action on right away. We table that, take care of the emergency. When that's over, you bring it back. That's how the book does it. They recognize in the United States, that's not how we do it. Tabling something in the United States, you're basically killing the motion. Because, I don't know if you want me to read, but the House is the one that we kind of follow. The House of Representatives. In the book, understand it. The House, and this, I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but the House rules therefore do not allow a question to be taken from the table without first suspending the rules by a 2/3 vote. Consequently, when a matter is laid on the table in the House, it's virtually killed. All right? Now, that's what has been carried on down all the way from the state levels to the local level. Now, the reason why we still want to have tabling a motion, because when you, the characteristics of a tabled motion, and I'll just read it, and I'll tell you what, it says, since the motion to lay on the table can be neither debated or amended, the chair puts it to a vote immediately. So why we need that and why it's still around is you want to have control of what may be brought up here. So if there's something on the agenda that we think is way inappropriate or something like that, or it's been on the agenda, on our agenda for, let's say, 3 months in a row, and the people aren't coming back with the information we want, someone can make a motion to table the item. I make a motion to table this because it's inappropriate for this meeting. It gets second, it goes right to a vote. And the only way to bring that back, there's no discussion, there's no amendment to it. The only way to bring it back is to suspend the rules and then bring it back. So I just want everybody to know, so when people table, you're basically killing the motion, all right?
And,
Go ahead.
well, to suspend the rules, that's 2/3, right?
Well, I have to read, it's really difficult. Our ordinance doesn't address that.
Correct, our ordinance doesn't address that, but then we do, I think, have a clause that.
That goes back to this book, who says you shouldn't really be doing it, but this is how the House of Representative and local governments are doing it. So I would kind of lean that way. They don't like that. You know, they like it where there's discussion on everything, you know, Parliament and, okay, so I guess we'll come to that, but I think it's important for everybody to know what those things mean. Because at the last meeting, there was question on if I followed policy or procedure on the traffic, reducing the speed limit on Laufenberg. All right, public safety, and I've talked with Doug and the chief, we all met. They tabled it, which means they, in my opinion, following the book, I don't think that was their intent, but they killed that motion. I don't believe, from our previous discussion, that any committee can kill something that without first coming to the board. And I'll give you an example of why this is. So let's look at the body cameras. The chief really wanted it. We voted 7-0 to have it, right? But if 3 people on the public safety committee would have tabled it, we would have, if we aren't able to move that up to this, we would have never been able to vote on it. And I don't think that's right. I don't think advisory committees should be able to stop any type of action from coming to the board. Okay, that's, I think if you follow, now if you want to vote on how the committees go, that's fine. But that is a perfect example where we should have been able to bring that up separately. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just seems like they don't have that power if you have 2 board members who agree that should get on the agenda, and or if you add it to the agenda.
Right, but that's what I did do.
Right.
And people didn't feel that I followed the process. And what I'm trying to say is that I believed I followed the process for that issue. And I'm trying to explain why that was. Go ahead, guys.
I'll just say I think it's an opportunity to gather more information and learn. We didn't take a specific vote on the 3 items. We, as a committee, decided through discussion without a motion and a second that we didn't feel action was justified. I understand exactly why I would have been sending a clear message to vote no on the 3 separate things and give some reason. I'm understanding, you know, it's a learning process for everybody, and I get it now, and the chief gets it, and I think we want to have clear communication back and forth between the village board body and committees.
Sure.
That's helpful to me.
All right, so that's all I wanted to make sure, so we're all kind of have that understanding on how this is, we're gonna work moving forward. All right. Number 4, discussion and possible action to reconsider action taken on October 25th, 2021 regarding a proposal for changes to the town and country sanitation, garbage, and recycling agreement. This is another one that I placed under reconsideration, which means I'm going to make a motion to reconsider the last motion we made covering that, which was made by Andy, second by Doug, to accept the contract, the staff recommendation in the contract, and it failed. The reason I'm going to do a reconsideration is if you look at the memo that I sent you, I think Bill brought up a good point. We should be looking at what the costs are. So what I did is I figured, well, our garbage is very similar to everybody else's. There's limited vendors that provide this service. So I did an open records request for those 4 communities. Ended up getting the contracts of 3 of them, and then the 4th one just gave me the information I was looking at. So this is for 2022 costs. These are where the comparison. So Is it an exact science of an RFP? No, but I am betting that it's going to be extremely close, since I see no reason on why the village cost would be any higher or lower than our neighbors. I think there was I picked up some confusion on, if it needs to go to RFP. That's not, something state statute requires. Basically, our ordinances, a lot of those services, I actually the president makes appointments in odd years. If you remember in the spring, we had a list of appointments where I named the companies that were gonna be our law firm, our engineering, our planning, and that's kind of how we operate. So I wanted to make sure people understand that there isn't an obligation that we have to put it to RFP. And if you look at the very last year of the contract, that's puts us at 1170, I think 1175. So that's even in 2028, it would be lower than just about everybody on here. Most of these have the 20 to 25 cent increase every year. And Bill just showed you what the inflation rate is. So you would think that other costs would go up. So I am going to make a motion to reconsider the action taken regarding the town and country sanitation, garbage and recycling agreement. Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
All right, is there any discussion on that motion? All right, let's do a roll call
Actually, I did a discussion.
vote. Okay.
With the reconsideration.
Yep.
I don't recall, I thought I read in Robert's rules, to do a reconsideration, you are having the choice to change your vote from the previous vote.
Correct. People can change your vote, correct. That's why you do it. Yes.
You specifically, because you're making the motion, I thought it was you specifically that needs to, I mean, I'll go for it, it's fine.
Well,
But I'm just trying to get this as a point, is to do I mean, and we can look in Robert's rules.
well, no, it's not. It's by ordinance. Our ordinance actually covers it, and I believe it says that any member can bring it up for reconsideration up until the next meeting. That's what I think ours says. Something to that.
That's in 2-2, right?
Yeah, chapter 2.
Okay, I mean, that's fine,
I know what you're saying, and you're probably in here, you might be right on that. You might be right on that, because that would be, because in here, they only allow you to do it during the meeting.
or the meeting after.
No, not here. This one, you gotta do it before your turn. It's our,
Yeah, and I think Robert rule says that only the party on the deterring vote is to make the motion to reconsider, to change their vote.
right, but what does our ordinance say? I thought our ordinance said anybody can.
Oh, that's correct, yeah, our ordinance to say that.
Okay, so that would overrule.
Okay, I just want.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point. All right. Okay.
Good question. Did sustainability take this up at all, or address it at their last meeting, or
Sustainability?
Not at all,
sustainability? Yeah.
because it involves garbage recycling.
Sure.
We try to reduce garbage and increase recycling.
Well, I agree with that. I'm just trying to figure out, we gotta haul it, no matter, I don't have a problem with you looking at it and trying to get more items covered.
I'll wait for the motion to reconsider, but we do have a hand up, and then we have representatives of town and country here also,
Okay.
so you know.
All right, we have a motion in a second. So let's go ahead with the roll call.
So what are we voting on?
Right now, we're just voting on to bring it up, open up talk about the contract.
So we're not voting on.
No, we're not voting on the
Just vote on the
contract.
reconsideration.
Just making.
Yep,
Trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Paul.
Yeah.
Trustee Martin. Trustee Calvert. Trustee Brochus.
Yep.
Trustee Tuesday.
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
yeah. All right, we're at, to the last motion that we made at that meeting that were under consideration. I believe was by Andy, second by Doug, and it was to accept the staff recommendation of accepting. That is prior to that. All right. Are there any questions that people would want to ask Town and Country?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Bill. So, you know, I look at a contract as an agreement between two parties, right? And I mean, I understand that things change, but you know, we're what, 3 years? 3 years into this contract? 2 years, and you want to go to 7?
Yeah, 3 years remaining on the existing contract.
Right. So why, so my question is why, I mean, if you're actually wanting to change two things, but the one thing I'll just talk about right now is just the cost, right? And, so I guess I'd like to find out more information on why you're adjusting costs. And like our president said, I did bring numbers showing that, you know, we're having a much higher than normal inflation this year, and it's gonna continue. But I just wanted to get your 2 cents on that.
The reason why we want a 7-year contract is simply the cost that we have to put up front is an investment to buy the toters for each residential and the trucks. You know, we're looking at roughly now with inflation, toters have gone up $9 a total. So that's $18 a home that we have to come up with, and the due cross claims, we're gonna have to spend like $225,000 to put toters in there. But, you know, there's no way that I wanna do it for 3 years. In most of my communities, 99% of them, we win, we do get a 7-year contract with an investment.
So we did back in 2014, I believe it was, 2014. We did have an RFP out between all three disposals companies. And, you know, Town and Country has been in the village for a very, very, very long time. And yeah, and has done an exceptional job. And you hear that from every village member. You do. One of the things, though, that was a kind of a pivotal point between you and Pelletaria and Waste Management is that we didn't have to have 2 95-gallon bins sitting in garages, which is, I know what you're trying to do because of labor, I'm assuming. But I think that is going to be an issue with residents of older homes that don't have that much room in the garage. And then we got to think about doing, you know, how are we going to ordinance that with here in the village? So I think that is, and that's why you won the bid in 2014, in my opinion. And in 2019, I don't think we did an RFP for that. I think you were the only vendor.
You renewed, yeah.
We just basically renewed for 5 more years. Right, yeah, so that's the history of that. But, so that's my concern is that, you know, having 2 95-gallon tubs.
Here's some of the things that happen with a smaller toll. 90% of the time, when somebody gets a smaller toll, we end up switching it. So say, for example, Bill here is one person, an elderly person, and all of a sudden that house is sold or they pass away, and somebody moves in there with 5 kids. So now they want a 95-gallon toter, or they figure out this isn't big enough. So then we're constantly switching toters from 1 week to the next. And it gets very costly. You know, we're willing to go to 65-gallon toters of garbage. And recycling will go to every other week, which is in the proposal. And we're gonna, if somebody wants their toter switched, we're gonna charge a fee of $20 to the individual. When Fenimore did their own garbage for years until about 3 years ago. Fenimore got out of the garbage business, contracted us to go to the one path. Fenimore paid for the toters, and they got a few small ones. They sent out a thing to people who wanted small ones. I think they had like 80 to 100 small toters, 1,200 homes. In the meantime, probably over half of them switched to bigger toters.
I think, Bill, I hear what you're saying, and I was one that voted for that, and not only was it less expensive, but I agree that you're confined with totals. You know, you have times where you do some remodeling or something where you get a lot of garbage, and you gotta wait a couple weeks to fill that. Dealt with it when I lived in Madison. But I think this is the trend. I think they're probably the only company that does not use carts, and I think in 3 years, they're gonna invest in that kind of equipment that we probably get that as a bid anyway. I don't think we can stop that from happening. I think it's going to happen, it's just when.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Just to clarify Bill's point, so the concern is you've got these large totes that people don't have space for or that physically can't carry them out. My point is, I guess, that, you know, they don't have to fill it all the way up. If they're not using that much space at the point in time of their life, then they're not gonna have, I would imagine, this. If they can take what they have out currently, they're just having to find space in a garage or on the side of a garage for it. I just don't understand where that struggle comes from.
So there's a difference between a square recycle bin and a 95-gallon bin. It's a big difference. And then most garbage cans that you buy at Menards or Home Depot or Ace or wherever are not 95-gallon bins. They're closer to 60 gallons. So people have made arrangements within their garages to be able to do that. Now that's fine. So if we go to 2 95-gallon bins within a garage, within a homeowner's residence, you're gonna have some homeowners that are not gonna physically be able to put it in their garage because it's so big, right? And then if you look at Madison, which Jay kind of referenced when he was in Madison, they have an ordinance of what you can and cannot have visible to the street with those bins, because they know they are not an attractive item to have in front of your home. So we don't have that ordinance anywhere within our village, anywhere. So, you know, are we going to be proactive or reactive? If this is something that's going to happen, you know, in 3 years anyway, should we be proactive and have ordinances in place, or are we going to have ordinances after the fact?
I don't know, but I know for the situation, like when my mother was living alone, we dropped down from the 95 to, I think they're like 35 or.
There are some 35.
Yeah, I think we went to the very small one. Now they're gonna charge an extra $20 for that delivery. But if that's a big problem, I think there's options. It's not like 95 or nothing. How many sizes are you gonna get?
2, probably 65, 95.
Okay, so people could go with the 65 in that situation, and you would have plenty of room.
Some of the issues we're having right now with the recycling program in town here is where the 18-gallon recycling bin isn't handling it, and people are putting stuff into the black bags. Well, when we're out picking up recycling, if it doesn't identify that it's recycling, we classify it as garbage. So the recycler has gone through, and I think I sent Bill a memo on this after the last meeting. It's left. And then all of a sudden, the individual home is calling, why did you leave my recycling? Well, it's in a black bag. We have no way of identifying it. You know, and with today's recycling, with everything being shipped by Amazon, there's cardboard, there's a lot more stuff now. And that's kind of the reason why we went with the garbage trucks. Because it compacts it and we can get more in it. We're up to 4 trailers, you know, and separate, and we couldn't get it on. So, yeah, are you guys, yeah, there's a lot of recycling. The only thing I'm saying is we gotta get away, if you stay with the system the way you're going to the next 3 years, you gotta get it in clear bags or something. So it identifies it, that it's recycling,
Okay. I agree, no, I agree with that, totally agree with that.
you know, because we have no way of telling.
You have actually pretty strict rules that are on the village website that says this is what you need to do for recycling, this is what you need to do for trash with town and country. People don't follow it, that's.
You know, we've probably done 60 communities, you know, since the last meeting here. You know, I've picked up 3 other towns that have went to the system, and they're townships with long driveways. You know, and we've never had an issue with the 95-gallon toters. Once they get used to them, they find a place to put them. It works, and I think toters look a lot better on the street than garbage cans or garbage bags.
All right, Bill?
Just, I want to note that we lost the internet, so we are reconnecting. I'm
All right.
recording us, but just so everyone knows.
All right, that's fine. All right, any other discussion here? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll just make this a similar comment to what I made at the last meeting. Certainly in my business world, I understand the needs and challenges of getting help. And, you know, Town and Country has been a partner for our village for a long time and a fair partner. And that's why I've supported it and will support staff recommendation again.
And I guess I'm, of course, I was in support of it, but I thought Bill and some of the members brought up some good points, so I'm hoping by getting this information that it clears out, you see what, puts it in better perspective. Michael?
So then, if the current contract ends, and can I ask you to speculate then, would your contract in 3 years be, we're going with toters then, obviously?
More than likely. I mean, I don't want to lose any business, but more, yeah, we would like to see the toters. You know, it takes 4 trucks and 8 guys here on Thursday to pick up this stuff. And the thing you have to remember in this contract that probably most other haulers won't do is we're still going to pick up the large items throughout 7 years. Because we're going to still have a truck around doing commercial dumpsters. And they're going to still pick up the large items, which a lot of companies don't do. You know, I've been reading a lot of things, and with changes since COVID hit and everything's going on with the way the economy is, you know, I've seen $5 to $6 per home increases on a lot of municipalities down south and all over. And I've seen a lot of the big haulers that can't provide the job, and they're losing contracts. And I feel like we've got a 20-year working relationship with the municipality here, and I feel we've provided excellent service, and we're just kind of asking, okay, let's go another 7 years and work with us so we can help eliminate manpower, but do just as good a job, if not better.
Anything else? Okay,
I
Bill?
just got one more comment. So, one of the reasons I did not agree to the motion last month was either I missed it or it's not in here talking about the different sizes of totes. You know, what I read in here was 95 gallons, you know, and if it would have been a little bit clearer that there's different size totes, you know, if you have and like you thought, like an elderly person who doesn't have a lot of garbage and they can get by with a 30-gallon tote, you know, that makes me feel better anyway.
I would say the smallest I'd like to go to is a 65.
Well, that's what our normal garbage cans are that you
Yeah.
buy at Home Depot, right? Or Menards.
So, you know, if we had
Recording in
people that
progress.
wanted the 65, sure. We have some 65s on hand.
Okay.
You know, you guys would have to get, I don't know how you would handle that. If we could do something that, you know, so we had the addresses. You know, we do all the advertising. We send out the newsletters that we're switching. We'll send a letter to everybody and let them know everything that's going on, how they have to put them out.
Okay.
All right, Andy?
Yeah, and with that,
All right, Andy?
Yeah, and with that, they can select 65 or 95?
What's that?
Would they be able to have the option to select 65 or 95? At the time of that communication?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not the 90, I would suggest the 95 strictly for recycling, because you're going to every other week pickup. So don't cut that one out.
Sure.
The recycling isn't gonna stink in your garage or stink outside. So if you only have to bring it out once a month, so be it.
All right, anything else? Let's do a roll call vote then. So, well, I guess I need a motion. Yes. I think, I'm not really sure how that works.
You still need a motion.
You still need a motion, so do I have a motion? I want to reconsider was the motion before, but we got it still stated. That part I don't know.
So all you did was you reconsidered to bring the motion back to the table.
Okay, so the I don't need another. Let's just do a motion.
Yeah.
Just do it, that way it's clear.
I'll make the motion that we reconsider again.
No, just make the motion to accept the town and country contract.
I will make a motion to accept the town and country contract as presented by staff.
Very good. Do I have a second?
I will second.
All right. Does anybody need any more discussion or can we go to roll call?
We had some people online, didn't we? Bill?
Yeah, we have a hand raised, and also, just want to announce that we were offline, and we were able to get back on, and I believe we confirmed that they can hear us, so.
Yeah, I think we're gonna stay with the rules. They had public comment they could have done. We don't generally open it up. This
Okay.
was- But is it just one person that wants to speak?
I only see one hand up.
Go ahead, we'll do it just because, but
All right, Seth, I see here that you have your hand up, Seth Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You dropped off, but we got you back. I just wanted to ask a question, Jay, on those prices that you had listed as comparisons. I know Wanakee and Middleton are both recyclable, collecting every week. I don't know about the other two. I'm just wondering if there's an idea of what the price change would be if you went to every week recycling, because I know Wanakee just did that this year, and I think the representative from Town and Country.
I couldn't tell you. All I know is that the numbers that I have is what they're paying for 2022. And they have a 20 cents or 25 cents jump every year as they go through. Black Earth is in their last year of the contract. I don't know. I can't say it. The contracts that I have were when they first signed them and they were, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. So if they've adjusted somehow this last year, I probably didn't pick that up because they sent me their original contract that had this 2022 included.
Wanakee switched this year to weekly recycling because they were having so many issues with, as I think the representative said, Amazon packaging and all these cardboard boxes that people's were overflowing every other week. So they just switched to week.
All right, let's,
When's this due to start? If we pass this?
probably right away, the first 3 years we're still under contract.
No, when would?
I don't know, if this passed tonight, when would you start, getting the word out and dropping things off? When would this thing all start?
Sometime after the first of the year.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
No.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Kettlebaiter,
Yes.
president Langfeld.
Yes, motion covers. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right, now
Thank you.
we're on number 5, discussion and possible action to adopt a resolution approving the Village of Cross Plains Sustainability Plan. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the sustainability plan.
Do I have a second?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and second discussion.
Well, and we have members of sustainability committee on there, and I believe, Melissa, are you with us? Are you able to present, or did you want Kevin?
I think she wanted me to present.
Okay, go ahead.
She's taking care of a little baby. So, congratulations to Melissa, who recently had a baby girl. So the sustainability committee, I will say first of all that Michael is representative. I'm on there as an at-large member, and our fearless leader, Melissa Gavin, has been wonderful in bringing us together and getting us through this process over the last year plus. So thank you, Melissa. The committee was put together as an ad hoc committee year and a half ago now, June or July of 20. And we've been cruising right along, been doing quite a bit of work. And one of those things was a sustainability plan that we were working on. You may recall, we actually wrote a grant that we almost, we were one of the finalists or something, but we didn't get the money to have a company do it for us. So we did it in-house. And luckily we have a very talented group, and to put this all together, we went out to the public a couple different times. You may all recall the survey that went out. The survey, for your information, is at the bottom of this as an addendum. That survey fed this information, as well as our meetings, monthly meetings, and we put together this plan. The plan ends up with 25 recommended actions. And we tested those against if they met the needs of today, cost, they met the needs of future generations, if they were benefited the environmental stewardship, and equity. Those 4 criteria we used to score these various recommendations, and came up with a list that you see on your in the plan here today. So I'm just gonna, I hope we sent it out last week in hopes that you all read it first and had a chance to look through it today and any questions. But I just want to quickly summarize that they came out with 4 goal statements, 4 goals, one for water, energy, solid waste, transportation, land use, and general sustainability. That's all on page PDF 74. And then the recommendations follow. Prioritized list of recommendations 1 through 25 is here. We had others that didn't make the list. It's important to note there was a bunch of other recommendations that did not make this list. But the top 25 you'll see here as they scored with the groups on the committee and this rather intense scoring system that we use. And so hopefully what this ends up with is this, or this plan that I should say, hopefully this plan ended up in a place where we can start working and clicking off some of these recommendations, whether that's the committee itself, whether that's the board, whether that's the plan commission, wherever or whoever the group is, can start getting some of these checked off if the board chooses to approve it today. So even though something might be like 24, 25 on this list, it doesn't mean that it can't happen relatively easy and quickly. And so it may pop up. So hopefully a year or 2 from now, you're starting to see 20 was crossed off, 25 was crossed off, et cetera, as we work our way through the plan. So with that, I will see if there are any questions. Michael and I can both answer, and maybe if Melissa or Steve's on, I think they can answer as well.
All right, anybody have any questions, comments? You have one?
I just turned it on in case that's talk.
Oh. I don't, Bill, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Okay.
So I have a couple issues, and I'm just gonna focus on one right now. And that is, let's see. It was number 10. Replace village vehicles at the end of the life cycle with electric, hybrid, or alternate energy vehicles. Fine for a park and rec truck or a gator, but you're looking at some of the heavy equipment that's needed by public works. You're looking at police cars that can't wait to go from 0 to 60 in 25 seconds. I have a problem with energy, green cars for some of the vehicles here within the village. Again, some, it makes sense, but some, to me, in my opinion, it doesn't.
Yeah, you're right, Bill. We had this very discussion about with a recent truck that was gonna be purchased with a plow set up on the front. So, the answer is, yeah, you're right. This is a recommendation, recommended action. Hopefully every time the staff and, you know, maybe board for that matter, but the staff, they look at electric when it's an option. They look at hybrid to see if it's an option. Hopefully they take this every time they go. It may not be something that happens next week or next year, but it may be something that we just change our mindset over time. So, yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. We're not gonna get a plow truck, at least right now, with electric. And also the budget, the board gets to make the choice on the budget, right? And it's a budget item that'll come, a capital expense that'll come to the board at some point along the way as well. It's a recommendation that staff look at it, and it's a recommendation that the board and others consider it at that time.
It is, the Madison Police Department, police vehicles are hybrid. That's what they're buying now. When we looked at even one for the last car police car we responded here, but it was like $6,000 more or something. Decided not to go with it because the equipment did transfer over. Sure. You know, the cages and stuff, so it would have been added cost. But they do have hybrids with police cars now.
Yeah, I think we waited a little bit to let the technology
Yeah.
evolve a little bit more for the police car.
Judy?
I just got a couple things real fast. And did I miss the names of the people on the committee? Because they do deserve some recognition for, was it? I missed it.
The names of committee members, I'm getting this off the website right now.
Oh.
Chair is Melissa Gavin, John Brandt, Vice Chair, Michael Pomykowski, Steve Douglas, and me, Kevin Zuzis.
Well, I want to thank you for because it had to take a long time to do all this, so I want to thank everybody. My only one comment though about it is where it says residents also use the survey, but there's like a suggestion in here about not doing something in Xander Park, like whatever. So since that's just your suggestion, does not mean that we either follow that. You just gave the board some suggestions, right? And this includes a desire to not build a structure in Xander Park. They need to reduce village buildings. So that's just a comment that we're making, right?
That was a comment that was in the survey.
Oh, in the survey.
Yeah, that was
that came from you guys.
No,
Okay.
no, the survey was attached for, to be as
Then I
transparent
see that.
as possible. We
Okay,
included the
perfect.
survey.
But even if it would have been, that's still okay because the committees are looking from different perspectives.
Right.
So,
But I
yeah,
think otherwise.
it's okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's just our survey summary, and we told you how the residents responded and how we use that to influence our decision making.
All right, anything else? Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Again, yeah, I'd like to say thanks for applying for the grant in the first place to try and get this covered from outside the village. And then thanks for all the in-house work, especially the part about adding equity to work, because I think a sustainable community is not just environmentally sustainable, but ethically, morally sustainable as well. And so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the 2035 recommendation to be 100% renewable for village operations. Definitely would like to see all village vehicles being replaced with electric when possible and makes sense. I like the idea of updating ordinances for urban farming so that we can get more sustainable practices encouraged by our residents. And I also really love number 15, where if we have certain residential development subdivision units where we encourage garden spaces being developed for residents. And I think that's something that we can definitely discuss at Parks and Rec as well to try and implement some community gardens into some of those properties that we have as well. So I think this is a phenomenal recommendation, and I wholeheartedly support every single aspect of it.
Well, let's, so we have the motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same.
Aye.
All right, did you catch that? All right. So we'll go to number 6. Discussion and possible action to adopt a rezoning ordinance for lots 70 through 77 in the Creek Crossing subdivision for a planned development district with an underlying district of duplex residential SIP. Now, we talked about this last month when it was conceptual. So I guess instead of going through it all, if everybody's okay, if we can just talk about the changes, if there were any to it, or do people want to go through the whole thing again?
Changes, please.
Changes, all right. Bill, why don't you take us through if there were from the last meeting?
Yeah, so from the conceptual meeting from village board and then to the public hearing at the planning commission and the recommendation for approval at the planning commission, there were no changes since that time. So everything you see here in the packet is the same information that had been submitted as part of the application at the very beginning. The planning commission did vote to recommend approval of both the zoning and the specific implementation.
Okay, can I have a motion then, please?
Do you just want it for 6?
Yeah, just for 6, yes.
I will make that motion to approve.
All right, and that's the adoption of the rezoning ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Michael,
I'm just gonna say that I am not in favor of this rezoning. I think the rezoning to the planned development district is granting many variances to standing village ordinances concerning the duplex residential zoning district 6. And that the lot layout needs to be rethought so that these variances and the planned development does not have to be implemented on this land. I'm not gonna be in favor of this.
okay. The whole reason you have planned development is for that flexibility. That's the whole purpose of that.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
That's why I understand, but
Oh, you don't like the concept itself.
I don't like the concept, but I think that, I mean, I understand where you could use it, but you know, you're shrinking minimum lot width, you're shrinking minimum area, you're making it very dense. I think our ordinances are set up not to have this sort of idea, and this side, this planned development is what they're doing. I'm against those ideas.
Ah, okay.
I think that 55 foot for a lot frontage is good. It spaces things out. You're shrinking the distance between the houses, having spaces between, people don't feel sardined, etc.
But then on the sustainability side of it, you have higher density, so you're not wasting as much space. You're getting people close, and there was a big movement at one time for that, smaller lots, closer together, less land, good farmland taken. There's a sustainability to argue with against that. It's just that's okay.
I agree, but
Okay,
I don't feel that way in this situation.
all right. Any other comments or discussion? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brochus?
Yep.
Trustee Thuzius?
Yes.
Trustee Brunner?
Yes.
Trustee Pomakowski?
No,
Trustee Hartman?
Yes.
Trustee Kettlebaiter?
Yes.
President Langfeld?
Yes. All right. Number 7, discussion and possible action regarding specific implementation plan for lots 70 through 77 in the Creek Crossing subdivision. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the specific implementation plan for lot 70 through 77 in the Creek Crossing subdivision.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brunner?
Yes.
Trustee Pomakowski?
no,
Trustee Hartman?
Yes.
Trustee Kettlebaiter?
Yes.
Trustee Brochus?
Yes.
Trustee Thuzius?
Yes.
President Langfeld?
Yes. All right.
Do you think we're seeing 9 piece of days? Crossings are together.
Well, one is really, no, I think we got to keep them separate. Because it's not,
No, I
9 is
just
totally
need
different.
9 in front of it, like going.
It's not, they're not relevant. All right, let's just go with a discussion and possible action regarding street design at 7033 Laufenberg Boulevard. You want me to summarize this? or-
I can do it.
Go ahead.
So we received a complaint from the property owner at 7033 Laufenberg Boulevard. I believe Ms. Furman is also on Zoom with us. The complaint comes from the connection point on Laufenberg Boulevard between the new pre-crossing subdivision and the existing St. Francis Initiative subdivision. Currently, as you see on, I'll step up to the map here so that everyone can see. So this is a map of new pre-crossing subdivision. The property owner lives on this parcel here, and the point of contention is this connection of Laufenberg and transition. And so the complaint are a few items. One being sidewalk, two being the driveway approach in the circle. There's a complaint in regards to communication, and then being individualized and being left out of that discussion. So a little bit of explanation, the design, the standard and the constructed Laufenberg Boulevard, I think everyone can agree. It's kind of a test at that time. And all the people that we've talked to, we've met with the community a couple of times, the neighborhood, they don't like it. So in consideration of the new extension, we went to a more traditional design with engineering and construction. That the design of the street, the plans per the development agreement did come through the plan commission and the village board. With that, you have sidewalks starting from that circle, and then the road actually is a lot more narrow than what the whole Laufenberg is. And the reason for that is that we've moved the storm ditches to the outside instead of in the middle of the road. So you have a more traditional construction. The reason why the circle is there is for traffic calming. The reason why it's in that particular location, not closer to the border, is because as you can see, the dotted line is the right of way section, which allows for that circle to be there. In review with engineering and public facilities, this was a design that we thought would work. Since we heard from the neighborhood that they wanted traffic calming in this area because of the anticipated traffic volume or concern for increased traffic volume. One of the concerns also raised by the property owner was parking, particularly visitors in this area. Her driveway is the only driveway that is accessed off of this section here. She had reached out to a number of village trustees and staff regarding these issues, and we thought that it was proper enough to bring it here. We're not suggesting or recommending any kind of structural changes. We believe that what we have, staff is not recommending, because what we have, I think, fits the situation. Again, the circle is intended not to be per se a roundabout where you navigate traffic within the circle, but more traffic calming. As you can see in the design, there's again no intersections that come into the circle. It is intended solely to connect Laufenberg through that section. And so in your packet, you also see documents that are submitted by the property owner regarding the field manuals and guidelines adopted by the state as a local agency. Those are simply guidelines for local roads. There's nothing in statute or ordinance that says that we need to adopt them or follow. Quite the opposite. Some examples, even on this section and throughout town, where potentially stop signs have been added per those guidelines, should not have them. And so again, the recommendations are to change the current signals and signs that are in the circle that are referencing more traditional roundabout to a traffic calming device, and the pictures are shown here. And then as the local authority on parking, to decide which portions of that circle, village board will allow. for parking.
I would like to I took the photographs, if you can, the signage that we currently have on that circle is definitely wrong, all right? The sign that you have, there's two problems. One, it's a warning sign, and they're supposed to be posted 40 to 50 yards before the actual feature. So you look at the signs that are on that circle now, you can see the exact same sign. If you take Deming Way off of 14, and right before you get the roundabout by Greenway Station, you'll see one of those signs in every direction, about 40 yards on a post along the curb. They're not supposed to be on the cycle. If you look at the photo, so we don't want cars going around that circle. The idea is the cars see that circle, they slow down, and then they go to the right of the circle and continue on. So the photographs that I went to Madison, because they use them quite a bit, you have another warning sign and it says traffic circle ahead. And that's what should be posted on both sides of our circle. Now it's hard to see, the second photo is actually the photo of the circle. And if you can see, there's no signage on the circle. What those are reflective plates. You have a non-evasive post, the ones with all the holes, and they have plates, reflective plates sandwiched on each side of that, and then they have reflective on each side of it. So when you're driving at night, that reflects, you see the sign that says traffic circle ahead, and then you can see where the circle is by reflection. I believe we need to have that correctly warned and posted in there, and I believe the developer should be responsible for that. This is not a traffic intersection roundabout. It's a traffic calming device, just like speed bumps and everything else. You see the sign ahead of time, you get to the bump, they usually have the bump marked with paint or arrows or something on there, and that's what we need to do. What we have there currently is just not correct. So I think the bare minimum is we need to correct that. And if you put those signs up before that traffic, it should not interfere with any of our residents, because the one, when you're heading east, will be right along the floodplain marsh area that there's no house on. And if you're going west, it would be a profile to the first house in the new development's backyard. So that should, because they are huge signs and posts that should not be where they're at. So I personally would say that we need to make that correction. I think everything else on the parking, again, the 75 feet is when they're talking about an intersection roundabout. In Madison, they didn't make it any different than any other spot where it's 10 feet from the intersection and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't think we've put up any no parking signs, so I'm not really sure if that's a concern. The driveway hitting that circle actually has more room than the neighbors who are backing into the boulevard itself. We have driveways going right into intersections. I mean, my first house in Cross Plains was right in the middle of a T intersection. If you go down Stump Street, you can go to the right for St. Francis, the left Creekside Way, straight ahead was right into my garage. I mean, they're obviously, we try to make them as safe as possible, but like I say, I think we have to change the signage for sure. We gotta get the correct signage and place it right. Bill?
It looks like on your pictures, also looks like on your pictures that the circle itself was the first circle was painted yellow.
Yeah.
Versus not painted.
Yeah, that is true. They have them, That's how they have it marked there.
I think if we're gonna follow that, we should follow.
Well, I'm not saying, I just wanted to give an example
No,
of how they're labeled.
But I agree with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think as much signage and warning that we can do within a roadway, we should do that, or have developers do that.
Yeah, no, the safety thing about that is parking in the center.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to.
You think people would do that? Yes, so. I was thinking it's no different than the breaks in the boulevard where people make U-turns bicycles.
Should be yellow.
Yeah, okay, I think we should add that then. Kevin, you want?
Yeah, there's a rec staff recommendation, but it's not quite covering it all, right? Okay, so, well then, yeah, I'll make a motion that we follow the staff recommendation to remove the current posts and signs from the circle in exchange for traffic circle ahead signs to be installed 40 yards in either direction from the circle. And add reflective plates installed at the circle itself. Parking and yellow, and the curb should be painted yellow around the traffic circle as well.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion, Judy.
So when you say for the parking to be allowed on the circle area along the private property, so there is enough room in front of our house that someone could park it, still get around the circle?
No.
There is.
Yeah,
No.
we can have Brian Berquist, engineer on this, speak about that.
Because I think when you look at, that's wider than the boulevard itself, and we allow parking on the boulevard.
No.
Didn't you, I mean, I didn't take out a
It's
tape
so
measure.
narrow.
I didn't take a tape measure out, but just the visual, because that was a big circle at one time, and they put that in the middle.
I know, this is my bad. I honestly thought the circle was gonna be closer to where the development is. I did not realize this was gonna be in front of their house. I don't. And then does Dana have anything that she wants to say?
Yeah, so Dana is on, and then Brian is on also. Do you want me to open it up?
Yeah, we opened it.
Okay, go ahead, Dana.
Okay, well, a couple of points I'd like to make is that we bought and have lived here for over 16 years. And Jay, I appreciate you saying that you had lived in an intersection or whatever, but I'm sure you bought your house knowing that to begin with. We knew there was a possibility of this road being broken through when a development was begun. There had never been any talk about traffic circle being put there. So you're changing this on an already existing homeowner that has lived down here. I pay my taxes. I've lived in this community for over 40 years. This traffic circle is bringing my property value down along with the sidewalk. We are the only house in the St. Francis subdivision that this is affecting. I've talked with our realtor and this is going to be a problem. Probably we may have a very, very difficult time selling our home now because of this traffic circle. Another thing I want to point out is that a lot of, if you go to the village of Mount Horeb, they don't even have warning signs up for their traffic circles. They don't have traffic circles with driveways entering or exiting from them in front of homeowners. The other thing is you're talking about the circle not being used as a traffic circle. You're dead wrong. It's going to be used as a traffic circle. I was out the other day and I know the road's not open, but I saw there were 6 cars that came down within 20 minutes. 5 used the circle, 1 did a U-turn in front of it. This is going to be used as a traffic circle. There's not going to be room for people to park in front of my home that probably will get hit. And then who's going to claim the insurance on it and things like that. The other thing is, have you taken into consideration if I have large delivery trucks, they're going to have a heck of a time pulling up. And if I have a large moving van out there, that's going to block your circle for the whole day. And I have the right to have those deliveries and a moving van down there. So chances are the circles will be blocked for an hour or maybe all day, depending if when and if those things happen to me. I know you say you don't follow the DOT ordinances. But what ordinances do you follow, and how is a homeowner supposed to get these and find them? So, and the one last thing, I'm just going to read it, is that we were never, ever brought into this process. At the beginning of the development, end of the development, nothing. When I first found out about this, I was calling to find out about the development, when they were going to be starting it. And I talked to Bill, and because we had people in our yard all the time marking, and the people marking said it was going to start the following week. I called Bill, and he told me he didn't know anything about it. It's probably going to be a few more weeks because the village had to sign off on a few things. Literally the following Monday, Dave Mall was out marking trees along my property line, asking me what we should take out and everything. And then the construction began. No talk was ever made. I did call Bill a couple of weeks later because the workers were working past up to 7 o'clock. I had thought Bill had told me the construction workers were working from 7 to 5. And before we hung up, he says, and you do know you're having a sidewalk in front of your house. That was the first time I had ever heard of it. And then there was mention of a traffic circle, but I would have thought the village would have been smart enough not to put a traffic circle in front of somebody's driveway. We are the only house being impacted down here. My property values are going down. There's been a lack of communication between the village and myself, and it just leaves me speechless. You listen to the developers, and you've changed their plans. You've made revisions, just as you have done tonight with the duplexes. They're making a nice profit. The village are going to get their TIF dollars. But property owners like me that have lived and paid taxes for 40 years, and I've contributed to this community also, I'm being penalized and my values are being taken down. But I'm sure you're going to raise my taxes, though, to help cover all the new services we're going to need for all these people that are being brought in. So I have an issue with all of this, and we should have been notified. One house, one property owner, and we should have been brought in on these discussions. Now it's too late. And what do I do about it?
All right, Brian, did you want to talk about parking within the circle area?
Yeah, I can hit on that. Certainly anytime there's not pavement along a property, it does limit some of the movements. The boulevards along Laufenberg Boulevard are a great example of that. You've got about 16 feet of width on each side of the existing boulevard. And certainly if an Amazon truck stops there or is parked there, that makes things very, very cozy. It's difficult for semis and moving trucks to maneuver into those existing driveways that are along there. In the current configuration at that, what was once a bulb and is now the circle, you've got just under 24 feet, so about 8 feet of additional width there. So it's not something that you'd take fast, certainly, but there is just geometrically a little bit more room than safe for a home that would empty its driveway right up against one of the boulevard sections. So we would certainly be comfortable with parking along there. If there was a semi or something like that parked along the street, it would likely present a problem, as it would further to the to the west. But single family cars, we would expect could maneuver that.
Can I interject?
Sure.
But my whole point is it should have never been placed in front of somebody's driveway. That's my whole point. You have lowered my property values. And I believe if all of you were in my shoes and you lived where I did, none of you live down here. Now, I know some live in the neighborhood and you walk down here, but you don't live down here and you don't see what's going on every day. I now have a sidewalk that no one else does in the St. Francis edition. No one. And when I get ready to sell my house, people are going to look at that and say, oh, why is there a sidewalk in this house and not on the other ones? But on top of that, why, if you were getting ready to buy a house and you saw my house and another house in the exact price range and they were exactly the same to each other, which one would you buy? The one with the circle in front of your house or the one without the circle? This is a hindrance. It is low. I've talked to my realtor. It is lowering our asking price from where we could have been this summer if we could have gotten started before in the process of moving, before they started the development. But now you have really lowered it. We have a sidewalk and we have a traffic circle. And I'm going to be having dogs peeing and pooping in my yard. And I'm not going to tolerate it. The poop will go back on the sidewalk because we take care of our yard and we have thousands and thousands of dollars spent on my landscaping. And I've done the work. So this whole development is costing me money. You've moved the fire hydrant, which that's going to probably increase our insurance. We're going to have probably our taxes raised to help increase your services that are going to have to be provided for all these new homes. And you've lowered my property value for selling. I'm the one that's losing in this. You and the developer are making out like bandits. So it's just been one property owner that's been affected, and you never took me into consideration. Why?
Have we given her 3 minutes yet?
Yeah, we're good here. So, is there anything to add, people would like to add to, the motion that's on? Otherwise, I'm ready, unless there's any more discussion. I'm ready to go with the vote.
Michael, just one question. With the reflective plating that we talked about, would it just basically be replacing these circles with those reflective
No.
things?
Those posts and signs should be removed. And in the middle, there'll be one of those posts that have holes through them, so you can see, and the reflective plates are attached to them in the middle of the circle. And they're all like maybe 8 inches by 10 inches.
It's gonna be like in the middle, like in the center of the circle.
So people know so they see it, so they don't hit it.
That'll be really important too when it snows, because I've pulled at least 3 people out of the water leak where my driveway, where my house is.
And then,
So that's important.
right, and then they'll have one on the sides, so even the plow people know where the circle. Kind of like what people do in the driveway.
Like, I'm just curious how many there would be.
There's just one face each side in the middle, so 2. And then you have one on each side and you have one for facing the traffic coming, so it'd be 2 smaller poles.
Instead of the 2 smaller ones.
Yeah. And the smaller ones are like this, maybe 4 inches by 6 inches, I think, well, actually. Kind of shows where the end of the circle is.
Okay, but there was, okay, that's fine, I'm just, if they're, they'll figure it out, if they're too close to the side, we don't want people to actually go over this or taking them out or whatever. Right, they could have a larger truck or something and.
Andy?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I appreciate the homeowner being here tonight to speak and relay their concerns. And I would just encourage them to also think outside the box, potentially selling their home, having a circle there to slow traffic might be beneficial to homeowners with young children looking for a place to purchase. And that there's maybe other benefits that they're just not considering at this point in time. And thank you for being a part of our community for 40 years.
All right, Michael?
I would just like to say that I am sympathetic toward the homeowner, that you were not contacted before there was a sidewalk placed in front of your house, and I do hope that in the future, should that be happening inside the village, that is not done again, that people are made aware of these sort of structural changes happening around the property.
I'll make two quick comments. One, I certainly agree we can do a better job on the communication when it impacts something like that. And I hope we learn from that. The second part is there's some opportunity, I think, for the developer and or maybe with some village staff to help clean up the landscaping transition from the Furman's house to Creek Crossing Lot 1 and 2. It's sloppily done, and I think that can help clean up rather easily on the developers' dime who did that.
All right, Judy?
I also want to reiterate that I feel bad for her that we did not communicate with her about this, because I feel like even on Church Street, when they came and did mine and new sidewalk and so forth, I was getting letters. But I don't know who I got them from now anymore, but I was at least communicated that my driveway was gonna be stopped and this and that, so I do feel that I did not communicate well.
Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Polakowski,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
No,
trustee Thuzius.
Yes.
Trustee Brochus,
Yes,
trustee Kettlebaiter,
No,
President Linkfeld.
Yes. All right, motion carries.
Excuse me, before you go, I just want to make sure those traffic circle signs will not be placed in front of my house.
Because they should be 40 yards from your, on that side where you're living. It should be 40 yards into the new development. 40 yards to the west or to the east from the circle there.
Because the whole purpose of me really getting upset are these traffic signs. It's really the view and everything is disgusting.
Yeah.
And so to move and have another traffic sign now put in front of my house is going to make it even worse, just as bad. So I
No.
want to make sure there's not going to be a circle sign in front of my house.
No, there won't be. Those two should be removed, and there should be one 40 yards from where that circle begins, where where you had the cul-de-sac. If you looked at it, it should be 40 yards on that straightaway. So that should be put into the new development.
Well, I'm scared it's not going to be far enough, but all right.
Well, I don't think you'll even see it from well, you see it from your picture window probably.
Well, I don't want it in front of my house. That's the whole purpose.
No, it will not be in front of your
I
house.
don't even want it on the side of my house where I can't hardly see it. That's the whole thing. I have all this junk in front of my house that is just hideous. That is real. But okay, I'll stop with that. My other thing is, will the village?
It's not going to be on your property. I can almost guarantee that it's going to be farther into the development.
Okay, and if it's not, will it be changed for me?
I will
Because-
talk to the developer and go down there and look at the spot, and we will mark it and let you take a look at it. How's that?
Okay, and I'm home and you can knock on my door. The other thing is, I just want to know, is the village willing to put it in writing that I'm going to be able to have people park in front of my house and on the circle without being ticketed?
Well, right now, there's no plans for putting up no parking. So you're clear there. And we're going to put yellow paint around the circle, so no one will be able to park on the circle side of around the actual circle.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I just hope you will clean that circle up because it's an eyesore right now and I have to look at it. And that's going to be part of the sale when they take pictures and stuff of the home.
Right.
So,
Well, hopefully we're going to have a no mold, low grass in that circle.
well, I work at a greenhouse. So if you want to, you can give me the money and I'll go buy some nice plantings to put in there to make it look really nice.
No, we'll give you the the grass species that we requested. You want to look at that?
Like that's going to help me. Anyway, thank you for listening.
All right. Let's go to number 9. Discussion and possible action on a resolution accepting certain improvements at Creek Crossing at St. Francis.
Bill,
Bill, go ahead, yeah.
Presentation on this one first. Okay, so Creek Crossing is represented here also this evening. They are concluding the construction phase of the development and have requested that the village conduct its final inspection in accordance with the developers agreement. The list that you see in the memorandum here are the items that staff is recommending not be accepted at this point just because of delays in the supply chain and or items that will take a season to grow in. So I'll go down the list, and I want to say also that our village engineer and Jerry did receive only the as-built plans only this morning, and so if there is a vote to accept the infrastructure this evening, that it be conditioned on satisfactory of those as-built plans. So the first item that so the resolution that you see attached in your packet and the memo reflect staff's recommendation to accept the infrastructure as proposed by the development agreement, except for these items. One being the pedestrian bridge and the items that come with it, so the abutment, footing, the path to it. This one is the pedestrian bridge that crosses over Brewer Creek to the south, will be the southeast side. This installed because of supply chain issue, mainly to do with the steel bridge. They expect that this will be added or constructed in May/June of 2022. They haven't started on this section yet, so we felt it necessary just to allow them the time to construct that in the summer. The street lights, number 2 here, are on order. They are back order. They're similar to all of our other street lights. They're ordered through the city of Madison. And they're expected to be installed in December into January. The sanitary pumps for the lift station in the development agreement, we have a requirement for them to deposit $25,000 towards this project. The need for the upgrade to the pumps is not required until the development is built out. As far as housing, the village intends to upgrade the pumps as part of our SCADA upgrade. So that's why we structured it that way. My understanding is that they'll provide the check for us to escrow. We just will not accept the infrastructure improvement until obviously it's been installed.
Is it the hydrostatic pump? We've gotten the 25,000 already.
Obviously, number 4 here, grass, plantings, and other ground cover. They're planted late October here, so we'll need a chance to see if that will grow. The final lift usually is added after housing construction, so that there's no damage. That's the finished product. And then mailboxes, there's some back and forth in regards to the type of mailboxes. These are the cluster types and not individual. We actually don't publicly own them. They're a private item, but our staff's recommendation would be that a condition on the approval would be that these be installed before any occupancy certificates are issued. Obviously, they're crucial to residents and homeowner. Smart for them to demand. We can take any questions. Brian's online. I think Jerry is also online here. That we have to develop.
All right, why don't let's take a motion first.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution accepting certain improvements, resolution 2021-20.
Okay, do I have a
Can you just add that it's conditioned on satisfactory approval of the as-built plans?
Pardon me?
Can you add that it's conditioned on satisfactory review of the as-built plans?
Yes, it'll be conditional on the, oh, right there. I had a, there we go. Complete construction of, let's see, recommendation is accepted for the following, wow. Yeah, so condition until everything is completed, until these items are completed. Close enough?
No.
No.
Yeah, so I'll repeat it.
Okay.
So the acceptance of the infrastructure as stated in the developer agreement, except for these items.
With the exception of those items that,
Correct. And then condition on satisfactory review of the as-built plans.
yes.
Sounds good.
You good? That's it. All right, do I have a second?
I will second.
All right. Discussions or questions to the experts?
Okay,
Michael?
so what was our motion? I just want to make sure
The
what
motion is to basically allow them to continue, knowing that these have to be completed, but they have to be reviewed prior to doing it.
So,
Okay.
and they're leaving the surety in place
Okay.
until all of this is taken care of. So basically what we're saying here is there's a list of infrastructure that needs to be dedicated because they've been constructed over to the village so that we can take control. Water, sewer, storm sewer, the base layer, grading, all those things need to be eventually turned over to the village. And so that's what we're doing now, except for those 6 items because they haven't been completed. And then we're conditioning it on the as-built plan. We received the as-built plans this morning. We still need to review it. We don't foresee an issue with that.
Okay. So,
We're taking ownership of the stuff that's been completed, understanding they have these things to do.
exactly, what's the benefit of doing that?
The benefit of doing, of accepting,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, why do we wait till these other things are done? And
so they can, yeah, so the reason why we want to start that process is so that they start construction on houses and selling the lots. So they have, generally, not just this developer, but generally, in order to sell lots, in order to continue with that transaction, most of these items have to be secured or transferred over. You'll see on the next one on Scenic Valley, there are things that we'll have to accept to be able to provide services to homes that are already out there. So this is all part of that process.
For example, the big one right coming up now is plowing. It's not a good idea for us to plow roads that we don't own. And we only own them once we accept them. So, and that's more the next one. That's the dilemma we're in with Scenic Valley. There's homes there and they're expecting their street to be plowed. So we've got to take ownership or there's the liability and we really don't want a contract and we don't want to get in the habit of plowing private property.
thank you.
Yeah.
That was my question. That was
Yeah.
like, what's the,
All right, any other discussion or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So move. All right, number 10, discussion and possible action on a resolution accepting certain improvements at Scenic Valley Phase 1. Bill, this
Yep.
one's a little bit more narrow.
Yeah, so this one, so they're right about there too for phase 1 for dedicating all their infrastructure over. They've made the request to the village. Upon our final inspection, we did find certain items that are almost there, but not all the way there. And we felt more comfortable with the situation to not fully accept those items at this point, considering some of the challenges that we've had within the development. So you'll see in resolution 2021 here, the items that we are recommending to be accepted are the sanitary sewer system, the lift station, and then the first lift of the asphalt here. So this is so that we're able to provide the necessary municipal services to that development over the winter time, as there are currently people living there now.
All right, do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to accept the resolution accepting certain improvements at Scenic Valley Phase 1.
Oh, I'll second that.
All right, discussion, any questions?
I got one quick
Go
question.
ahead.
So they have put on the lift layer in Scenic Valley.
Yeah, the first, the binder layer.
So do they have another one or is that the last one?
Don't they have another one?
Oh, there's another.
So usually they come in two lifts. So we put down the first, we require them to put down the first one and then we let the construction happen. And then during construction, they usually damage the base layer or the minor layer or curb or gutter, sidewalk, etc. We have them fix all of that before we put on the final layer. Have them put on the final layer.
We don't want to accept it until a lot of the construction is done, because once we accept it, then damage.
Yes. That has to go on Scenic Valley.
Yeah, that's what we're saying is, we're allowing them, basically, we're taking ownership with the understanding of with the second layer.
Gotcha.
Any other, Bill?
So reading Brian's email to Bill, he said following items have no more punch list work, and talks about the sanitary sewer, collection system, the pumping station, and the binder layer. But then the remaining areas still have incomplete punch list work or just have not been completed, and I don't know what those are.
Yeah, so those are, and Brian's on here and Jerry's on here, they can speak to that, as far as the specifics of what those are. So we're looking at like water, the water system, we're looking at, sediment, grading, plantings, there's storm sewer, there's catch basins. But yeah,
Path.
Brian and Jerry can speak to that.
Sure. Yeah, the water system still has a couple of valves that need to be straightened up for full village acceptance. Functionally, the system is pressurized and it's delivering water. It's just missing some repairs to the valves. The grass areas were also planted fairly late this fall. So for the same reasons, those would not be up for village acceptance. There are some areas on the path, the path that's along County KP that need to be tuned up in the spring. They just ran out of construction season to address those. So
Yeah, but Brian, I think the question they have, and I think I know the answer, is you mentioned that there's a number of things like you just talked about, seeding and some of that, but that's not considered infrastructure, right? So that's a whole different punch list. Is there wondering why that's not on here and that we're.
oh, right. I'm sorry.
Things, but not, but that work.
Yes, those are outside of the is what we would call critical infrastructure that would be necessary to provide village services.
But are we still holding the?
Yeah, that's all. That's like a separate punch list.
Okay,
Right now, what we're trying to do is accept what we can of the infrastructure so we can take care of it and own it. We're not taking the development. Yeah,
No, and you
that's kinda
still-
My understanding, it's like two different punch lists.
so are we just, so this resolution is only to accept these three items?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Calvin, I just want to clarify, are we giving occupancy permits then?
That's correct.
Yeah.
How many so far?
So far I believe there's 3 of them.
Any more anticipated this winter?
We anticipate 4 more this winter.
Risky business.
All right, any other? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Discussion and possible action on a resolution authorizing an interfund loan to the village water utility. The payment for the 2021 well 3 construction contract A.
Want me to go on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So currently we are drilling well number 3. And I apologize, the microphone keeps cutting out here to those listening on Zoom. So currently we are drilling well number 3, as you've seen on the last month. There has been invoices being paid currently through the water utilities fund balance or cash balance. We expect that towards the end of this year into next year, we'll run into a situation where the cash flow within the utility is not able to continue to support the invoices coming in, and therefore are recommending an interfund loan over to the water utility to pay for, particularly in this case, the well drilling, until we can close on the state water drinking loan and pay back the general fund. This is so that we don't have to go out to borrowing. This is something that was anticipated because we understood that the rates and the big loan for the overall well would not be here in time for the construction and increases.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All right, motion second, discussion. Bill?
One question.
Yeah.
So didn't the general fund borrow money against sewer, last year?
No, the sewer and the general fund gave money, well, loaned money to the tip.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, that's, yeah.
And now what we're doing is a short-term, basically loan to cover bills until we get the drinking water loan, and then that money will be put into there.
Okay, great, thank you.
But we're not really robbing, it's kind of giving that construction loan, let's put it that way, instead of 30-year mortgage.
It's all our money.
All right, any other discussion? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yep.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman.
Yep.
President Langfeld.
Yes. All right. 12, discussion and possible action on pay request number 1 from CNC Services Group, library roof. Bill?
Yeah, I'll go on this one too. So we have a current pay request for CNC Services Group. They are currently the contractor working on the library roof repair. Of course, thrown into all of this as they're working through that process, and they currently do have well, 85% of the roof replacement job conducted. There's still some items, downspouts, EFIS, some of the HVAC area that needs to be done. The pay request that's in front of you now is the first portion of it. It's mostly for materials and some of the installation costs. Brian and I have discussed this back and forth, and we decided to hold this until now, until we've gotten to a point where we can understand where the repair work or when the repair work's going to happen. We thought we had that, and then late on Friday and into this morning, we've had a couple of conversations back and forth while CNC Services continues to state that all the repair work will be covered. We're kind of running into a timeline here where obviously the weather is impacting the interior of the library. So with that being said, and in my reports previously, we do have our insurance company on notice. Also, we do have another contractor ready to do the repair work that we put on notice. So, along with the determination of this bill, or this invoice, I am asking whether, for your thumbs up or thumbs down in regards to, and until this point, we've afforded the opportunity for this contract to make things right and repair. I think we're getting to a point here with the weather that we need to follow suit potentially with the claim, and go ahead and hire a different contractor if needed to make sure that we protect our assets and our customers. So that's summary of where we are again this evening. And then I believe that information is important to your decision on the bill. I think that the remaining amount of the contract, about $68,400, is enough to cover the repairs as provided in the estimate if we do run into an issue. And that should be, that approval should be held off until all the repair.
All right, I think let me just, I know Judy will be there. I just want to make sure, I think we're kind of mixing a couple things.
Right.
I think the motion is to pay the first part of the invoice for the roof.
That's correct.
So that's what we should stay focused on right now. I think that other information is helpful, but I think we should talk about that later. Judy?
But that won't make me decide differently if the answer is different things. I mean, okay, I get that, but I want to know, like, are they on track as far as time frame where they're supposed to be? So none.
Yeah, so there's, so as far, so we gotta think about these as two different projects, right?
Right, yes.
One is the roof replacement, and that's what the invoices are being submitted for, right? So,
And that's 85% done.
yeah, so as far as the roof replacement itself, they're on track, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But as part of the contract for the roofing job, there's provisions in there in regards to damage to owner's property during the time of construction. So that's what we've been using as a stick to try to get this contractor to make the repairs. We're running into a crunch time here where they're finding it hard to get the LEED certified materials. And so we have a mitigation specialist with that material. There's some lead time there, but they're ready to go. Also, up to this point, we've afforded in good faith to try to work with this contract, to our contractor to try to make the repairs. Yeah, we're getting to that stage where I think that's a different.
And that's being covered by insurance.
But you feel that if we give
But-
$68,400, they earned it. I mean, they've done that work. What we're gonna pay, if we say yes tonight, what we pay them, we feel like they earned that, and that is completed.
Yes, yeah, that's,
And who collects lien waivers?
so Brian will collect lead waivers off of that, just like any other.
Mhm.
Okay, that was my.
Michael, did you have something you want to say?
This is, you said that the roof is 85% done. What's the timing for the other 15? What's going on with that?
Brian, can you answer that?
Sure. He's indicating that it would be the first week of December for the flat roof areas that are underneath the HVAC units as well as the downspouts, and that would complete the contract scope of work. Bill alluded to some scheduling crunches. We've been trying to balance his at least stated desire to try and chase down materials as his primary goal as opposed to finishing. And that was a conversation I had with him on Friday was if you're not going to be repairing, you need to be working. So that's where that schedule came from, is he's expecting to be totally complete first week of December.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the outside roof was happening and before winter comes in and snow and stuff.
All right, any other on this? All right, all in favor?
We don't have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we did have a motion. Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I motion to approve the pay request number 1 from CNC Services Group.
All right, do I have a second? Second. All right, any more discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, Basically what Bill is asking, are we okay? Current contractor can't get the inside repair work done, not the original contract of the roofing, but the damage from the water. Is it okay for him to go to another contractor and get that done, which is paid by insurance?
Well, first step is to file insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second step would be to contract, get the heaters in there, get the repair, get the material ordered, because there's about a month lead time on that too. And then get them scheduled to get the repairs done. So the important part here is that it's an emergency repair so that we don't have to bid the product out, because if we do have to bid the work out, then it's add another bump to that. And so we'll be bringing, under the proposal, for emergency repairs because of the weather, incoming weather, and the water damage. I will then be bringing a resolution to you, to certify at the next board.
Everybody good with that? Okay.
I just, is CNC's insurance company working on it? Did they file a claim for their side?
CNC has not filed an insurance company with theirs yet. They filed a claim against their subcontractor, who was on the job at the time. And that's why we've been working with, through our contract with CNC, to make sure that when we've told the contractor that this repair work is coming and the cost associated, so utilities, staff time, and dealing with all that, is whether it's through us or whether it's through contract or whether it's through our insurance, somebody that we're not going to be paying.
So we file a claim now, or we wait 2 weeks and file a claim potentially?
Well, we file, the strategy is we went through the contract.
Yeah.
For the repairs. Or we file.
So I'm saying, if the contract doesn't work in 2 weeks, by the first week of December, you're gonna have to file a claim in 2 weeks anyway.
That's correct. Yeah. To protect our.
File a claim. Would be my suggestion. Is that? I suggest filing the claim as soon as possible.
All right, let's go to the next then. Discussion and possible action regarding the EARC/RIDE agreement for the highway KP multi-use trail section reconstruction. Bill?
Yep, so I'll go on this. This is a section of County Highway KP from Bourbon Road. Currently a sidewalk to Gillsway in connection to Scenic Valley and the current 10-foot wide mixed-use path that we have in Scenic Valley. So there are areas on this sidewalk that I think is not ADA compliant. I think we received a complaint and actually a slip and fall on that section when I first arrived here. So this has been in the planning. I think initially I think a year ago, we applied for the local supplement grant program for this section of trail plus the actual road project. We did not get that grant earlier this year. Those board approved the resolution for Brian and I and Mike to submit the application here for the Park Ride grant for 50% of the project. We did receive that, and you see that in that grant agreement packet. And then currently we do have it in the village's CIP for 2023, and like I said earlier, or had referenced earlier in my announcement, we did also submit an application to the Capital Tourism Grant Program for our local match. Total project cost $540,000. There's some time to spend that, but if the village board does accept it, we'll continue to do the planning next year, at the end of next year, and started looking at projects.
All right.
I'll make a motion to.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
I've got a question. So the sidewalk that you're talking about, it's not ADA, is that between Laufenberg and Bill's Way, or is that from the businesses that have the X painted on? On Bourbon?
Yeah, you said Laufenberg.
No, well, the area between, not Laufenberg, I'm sorry, between, Lands End.
Yeah, this thing has a long.
I think the section that I think we're concerned about is between up the hill to the mountain hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Ooh. All right, 14, discussion and possible action on Village Hall / Police Department planning. This is back on here. If you remember when we had the discussion earlier, there was members that wanted to ask where we are for the planning. So this is kind of to get your input on how do you want the planning team to look like? Is it a subcommittee of this, or are we gonna have special meetings? We do a lot of it, or do we do an ad hoc committee? What are the ideas? You want to move this forward? Bill?
I think we have a subcommittee from this group and then including public safety and park and rec.
Okay. Other ideas?
I like Bill's idea.
Anybody else? All right, so then, sounds like everybody's okay. We'll do a subcommittee for this that'll include members of public safety and parks and rec.
I'd like representation of staff too.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah, very good.
And build the pool.
And what did you say?
And build the pool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, that would be this, yeah. It's a
Just wanted to make sure
subcommittee.
that we're.
Yeah. It's hard to have a subcommittee of this.
Yeah,
without
I
having.
know.
All right, is everybody cool with that? I guess Bill and I will talk and we'll have a proposal to you at the next meeting.
You want to find out who wants to be part of that subcommittee now, or do we want to?
Well, I guess what I'd like to do is define it a little bit so people are making the decision and understanding what the commitment is. So I'd rather do that first. So why don't you and I sit down? We've had some talks already, kind of break it out, what we're expecting from everything, so everybody has clear understanding. So I don't think we need to take any action over the short discussion. Very good. All right, future agenda items. An item that people would like to see on at a future meeting. Judy.
I do think we should still recognize, Randy Case in one of our meetings. And we kind of talked about it, because he was on the forever and ever.
Forever. Yeah, I had thought we had done that.
Yeah, we did. I thought,
Oh, did you go through the minutes?
no, but I thought we did, but I know we did. We did not. We never had a site team. They just had their celebration. That's it. Yeah.
We haven't, yeah. You
No.
talked about it.
We talked about it.
All right. I do that in January,
That's-
December's a tough, that's the
Yeah,
28th, right after that.
Parks and Rec has a recommendation for the community neighborhood park at Glacier, for phase 1, that we'd like to bring to the next, board meeting.
All right, do you give a report or something from it, or write up?
Yeah, it'll be coming to you.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Call vote, please.
Trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Brochus.
Yes.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Thuzius,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
president Langfeld.
Yes. And we are now in closed session. We'll take a few minutes. Opposed, same. Can we open the door and give a verbal command that we are now open? We are open.
You need them?
Verbally commanded.
Are you recording?
I'm recording. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good meeting.